Tom was born in a small town in California, in a family that did not have much money. His father worked many different jobs, sometimes during the day, sometimes at night, to help support the family. His mother stayed at home and took care of Tom and his brothers. She always tried to make them feel safe and loved. Tom was a quiet boy at times, but he also had a big curiosity. He often watched people and events around him with wide, wondering eyes. He liked to ask questions, sometimes aloud and sometimes to himself. Why do people behave in this way? Why does life feel fair sometimes and unfair other times? Why do some dreams come true and some never happen? He wanted to understand the world. Even as a child, he liked to watch movies for hours, sitting close to the screen and imagining himself in the story. He imagined being a hero, a traveler, a funny man, or someone who could make others feel strong emotions. He asked himself, how do actors make people cry? How do they make people laugh so much? These questions stayed in his mind and often kept him awake at night. Sometimes Tom felt shy around other children. He did not always join games or speak first, but other times he felt joyful and full of energy, and he loved to make people laugh. He would tell jokes, make funny faces, or act out little scenes. This made him feel happy and powerful. In school, Tom tried many activities. He drew pictures with pencils and paints. He performed in small plays for the class and even for the local community. He talked to everyone he could, even when he felt nervous. He also loved reading books. Every book was a new world for him. He learned new words and ideas and wondered how people thought and felt in different times and places. Life was not always easy. Because his father changed jobs and moved often, Tom had to leave friends behind many times. He sometimes felt lonely in new towns or schools, but even in those lonely moments, he kept asking questions. He wanted to know why people acted differently, why some people were kind and others not, and how the world really worked. He liked watching older actors on TV and in movies. He wondered how they could show so much feeling without saying too many words. How can someone make me cry with just a look? He thought. He tried to copy their actions and gestures at home, practicing in front of a mirror or imagining he was on a big stage. Tom was small in a big world, and sometimes he felt that the world was bigger than he could ever understand. But inside, he had big dreams. His curiosity was like a fire that never stopped burning. It made him ask, what can I do to make life better? Who can I become if I try hard? Even when he did not know the exact answers, he wanted to explore, to learn, and to find his path. He wanted to grow and understand life in every way. He felt that one day he could make a difference in the world, even if he did not yet know how. His imagination, his questions, and his small experiments in acting and drawing were the first steps of a journey that would later shape his life. Every small adventure, every conversation, and every movie he watched became a lesson. He began to understand that life had many colors, sad, happy, confusing, and exciting, and that he could learn from every moment. Sometimes he felt fear, wondering if he could ever be strong enough to follow his dreams. But then he would remember a funny scene from a movie or a kind word from his mother and feel courage again. Tom's mind was always moving. He noticed little things, like the way people smiled when they were happy or the way a man's voice could sound serious or gentle. He asked himself, how can I show these feelings to others? How can I help people feel what I feel? These questions were the seeds of his curiosity. He learned to listen carefully, to observe quietly, and to think deeply. Even in small moments, watching a bird, talking to a neighbor, or walking home from school, he saw stories waiting to be discovered. As Tom grew older, he decided to follow his dream and study acting. He joined a school where young people came to learn how to perform on stage and in films. On his first day, he felt nervous and excited at the same time. There were many students, some confident, some shy, just like him. He looked around and wondered, "Can I really do this? Will I be good enough?" Soon he met teachers who could see something special in him. One teacher came up to him and said, "Tom, you have a gift. Keep practicing, keep asking questions, and never stop learning." These words made him feel proud but also a little afraid, because he wanted to live up to them. Every day, Tom worked very hard. He practiced speaking clearly and loudly, moving naturally, and feeling the emotions of each character he played. Sometimes it was very difficult. He had to learn how to cry, how to laugh, how to show sadness, fear, and joy. He asked himself many questions. Am I really feeling this? Will people believe me? Even when he made mistakes, he did not give up. He remembered that mistakes were lessons, and each lesson helped him grow. In school, he also met other young actors. They shared ideas, performed together, and sometimes argued about the best way to act a scene. Some ideas seemed strange or difficult at first. Sometimes he did not understand why a director wanted him to move in a certain way or say a line differently. But he listened carefully and tried new things. He realized that acting was more than just pretending. Acting was understanding life and human feelings. Tom watched movies every day, not only for fun, but also to learn. He observed actors carefully and asked himself, "Why does this make me cry? Why do I feel happy or scared?" He tried to understand the little details, the tone of voice, the movement of hands, the look in someone's eyes. Acting taught him to be patient, to observe, and to feel deeply. Sometimes he felt frustrated, thinking he could never be as good as the actors he admired. But then he remembered his childhood curiosity and the questions he had always asked. How can I show truth? How can I touch people's hearts? These questions guided him. Slowly, he felt himself growing. He became more confident in his abilities. He also became more curious about human behavior, emotions, and the way people communicate. He wanted to take risks and try difficult roles, even if they scared him. He wanted to experience everything he could as an actor because he knew that every experience would teach him something new. One of his mentors told him, "Tom, life will teach you more than books. Watch carefully, feel deeply, and never stop asking questions." Tom remembered these words often. They became like a light guiding him through hard times. He felt ready to leave the small classrooms and stages behind and step into the bigger world of theater and film. He began to understand that learning was not only about following instructions, it was about exploring, making mistakes, and discovering his own way of expressing ideas. Every scene he practiced, every conversation he had with other students, every note from a teacher added a small piece to his knowledge. Acting was like a puzzle, and he was slowly putting it together. He also started to understand the responsibility of being an actor. People could feel emotions through his performance. His work could make them laugh, cry, think, and even change the way they saw the world. This thought gave him both excitement and pressure. He asked himself, can I really help people feel something important? Can I make them understand life better? He realized that acting was not just for entertainment. It could be a way to connect with people, to share stories, and to teach lessons. Tom worked long hours every day. Sometimes he practiced alone, sometimes with a group. He read books about acting, human psychology, and storytelling. He tried to understand what made a character real and believable. Every role was a new challenge. After finishing his acting studies, Tom left his small town with a mixture of excitement and fear. The world outside seemed much bigger and brighter than he had imagined. He traveled to larger cities, looking for opportunities in theaters, small film studios, and television. At first, everything was difficult. He attended many auditions. Sometimes he thought he had done well, but the casting directors would shake their heads. Sometimes people laughed at his ideas or said he was not ready. At those moments he felt sad and disappointed. He even thought, maybe I am not strong enough. Maybe I should give up. But then he remembered his teacher's words. Watch, feel, and never stop asking. These words gave him courage. He continued, step by step, audition after audition. Along the way, Tom met new people. Some of them became good friends. Others were older actors who gave advice and encouragement. Some were directors who taught him how to move, speak, and feel more naturally. He discovered new theaters with old wooden floors, bright lights, and audiences full of curiosity. He saw small film sets with cameras, lights, and people working together to tell a story. He learned that storytelling was magical. Each person had a role, and together they could create something that made people feel joy, sadness, hope, or fear. Tom began to work on small plays and short films. Every role was a lesson. Sometimes he played a happy character, sometimes a sad one, sometimes someone very different from himself. Each time he asked himself, what does this person feel? Why do they act this way? How can I show this honestly? He learned patience because creating a character took time. He learned hard work because each rehearsal, each scene, required energy and focus. He learned creativity because sometimes there was no clear answer, and he had to invent something new. Traveling also taught him many things. He met people from different backgrounds with different ways of thinking. Some were very kind, ready to help. Others were difficult or strict. Tom asked himself many questions. How do these people see the world? How do they feel about life? How can I understand them? These questions made him more curious and open-minded. Acting began to feel more than just fun or a job. He realized it could help people understand themselves and each other. A story on stage or on film could make someone feel empathy, joy, or courage. Tom understood that acting was a way to connect people, to share ideas, and to explore life. Each new city he visited was a lesson. Every new stage taught him something about himself, others, and the world. He realized that success was not only about being famous. Fame could come and go, but honesty, effort, and heart were permanent. He asked himself, how can I be true in every role? How can I use my work to touch people's hearts? These questions guided him. His journey also taught him courage. He learned to face rejection, fear, and failure without giving up. He learned empathy, noticing how people felt, listening to their stories, and understanding their emotions. He began to feel a transformation inside. He was changing. He was growing stronger, more patient, and more aware of the power of stories. He realized that every experience, every mistake, and every challenge was a step forward. He began to dream bigger, imagining himself performing in larger theaters, acting in films that people would remember, and creating characters that could teach lessons about life. Along the way, Tom also learned to observe carefully. He watched people in cafes, on buses, and on the streets. He noticed the way a person smiled when they were happy, or the way their hands trembled when they were nervous. He thought, "These small details are what make a story real. I need to see them, feel them, and show them." Even when he felt tired or discouraged, he remembered why he started this journey. As Tom became more well-known, he realized that fame was not only about receiving awards or applause. He felt a strong desire to help others and to share what he had learned during his long journey. He wanted to guide young actors and students, just as his teachers and mentors had guided him. He started visiting acting schools, theaters, and workshops. He spoke to young people who were nervous, uncertain, or struggling to find their way. He shared his experiences, telling them about auditions, mistakes, successes, and the lessons he had learned along the way. Sometimes he gave interviews on television or in magazines. He spoke not only about acting, but also about life. He wanted people to understand that working hard, staying curious, and believing in yourself were more important than fame. Some people loved his advice. They listened carefully, wrote notes, and followed his guidance. Some did not understand it at first. Some thought his words were simple, or that they already knew everything. But Tom did not let that discourage him. He asked himself often, "Can I really make a difference? Can I help someone see the beauty in life through my words or actions?" He realized that answers were not always easy to see, but he could try to make a difference every day. Tom also believed that actions were more important than words. He did not only talk about kindness, courage, or creativity, he showed it. In his films, he chose roles that could teach values, share emotions, or inspire people to think about life in new ways. Some of his characters made people laugh, others made them cry, and some gave viewers hope and courage. He saw that stories could connect people, teach lessons, and even change lives. Beyond acting, Tom also started producing films and supporting projects that helped other people work and grow. He helped create jobs, gave opportunities to young artists, and supported stories that mattered. He believed that ideas, knowledge, and kindness could spread through art, and he wanted to be part of that spreading. Not everyone agreed with him. Some critics were harsh or questioned his choices. Sometimes his films did not receive the attention he hoped for. At those times, he asked himself, "Am I doing the right thing? Does it matter?" But he always returned to the answer that had guided him since childhood. Effort, honesty, and heart are more important than temporary praise. He continued to work, teach, and share, believing that knowledge and experience were gifts to give. Teaching, for Tom, was more than showing how to act. It was about helping people understand life, see emotions clearly, and feel empathy. He wanted others to learn courage, patience, and kindness. He told students that mistakes were not failures, they were lessons. He encouraged them to take risks, try new roles, and face their fears. He wanted people to know that acting, like life, required honesty and heart. Through his influence, many people began to believe in themselves. They felt inspired to explore their talents, to take small steps every day, and to share their own stories. Tom watched with satisfaction as students grew more confident, laughed more freely, and felt more courage to follow their dreams. He also learned from them. Their energy, questions, and curiosity reminded him of his own childhood, and it kept him humble and aware that learning never ends. His work in teaching, mentoring, and producing films showed him a new side of life, the power of helping others. He realized that one person's efforts could ripple through the lives of many. Every student he inspired, every actor he guided, and every audience member he moved was part of a larger story. Tom began to understand that influence was not about control or fame. It was about sharing experiences, encouraging growth, and showing that kindness and ideas could spread. He reflected on his own journey, remembering the teachers and mentors who had believed in him. He realized he was now carrying the same torch. Teaching was a way to continue the cycle of learning and giving. In his later years, Tom often spent quiet moments thinking about his life. He remembered the small boy in California, asking endless questions, watching movies, imagining stories, and dreaming of the future. Those memories made him smile, but they also made him thoughtful. He asked himself, "Did I do enough? Did I touch enough lives? Did I make a difference?" Sometimes he felt proud of what he had achieved, the films he had acted in, and the people he had met along the way. Sometimes he felt tired because life had been long and full of work, challenges, and responsibilities. He began writing his memoirs. Every memory, every lesson, every mistake, and every success found a place on paper. Writing helped him understand himself and his journey. He reflected on his childhood questions. How can I show truth? How can I touch people's hearts? He realized that acting, teaching, and helping others had been his answers. He gave speeches at schools, festivals, and theaters. He shared stories about his journey, about curiosity, courage, and perseverance. He reminded young people that mistakes were part of learning, that hard work mattered more than quick success, and that kindness and heart could guide life more than fame or money. Even as age brought new challenges, fatigue, slower pace, and health concerns, Tom kept learning. He studied new scripts, learned about new technologies in film, and listened to younger actors' ideas. He realized that every moment, every person, and every story could teach something new, no matter how old he was. He continued inspiring people around the world. Audiences remembered him not only for his performances, but also for his humility, wisdom, and perseverance. Students remembered the guidance he had given them. Colleagues remembered the encouragement and kindness he showed on sets. Fans remembered the emotions, hope, and laughter his characters had brought into their lives. His legacy was not only in awards or fame, it was in the stories he shared, the people he inspired, and the lessons he passed on. He knew that one person, even with small actions, could change the world in meaningful ways. He often asked himself, "What can I leave behind? What matters most?" And he realized that what mattered most was curiosity, courage, heart, and the willingness to keep trying. Tom also spent time thinking about life itself. He understood that it was full of challenges, joy, mistakes, love, and learning. He realized that every experience, even failures and sadness, added to a person's strength, wisdom, and empathy. He felt grateful for the teachers who had believed in him, the friends who had supported him, the colleagues who had taught him, and the audiences who had felt his stories. Tom hoped that his work, his films, his teachings, his writings, and his actions would help people believe in themselves. He wanted everyone who watched his films or listened to his words to think, "I can dream. I can learn. I can try. I can make a difference." Even in small ways, even in quiet moments, he wanted people to feel hope and courage. As he looked back, he realized that his life had been a journey of curiosity and learning. He had asked questions as a child, explored the world as a young man, shared knowledge and kindness as a teacher, and finally reflected and inspired as an elder. Each stage of life had taught him something new about himself and the world. He knew that stories were powerful. They could teach, inspire, heal, and connect people. He understood that by sharing stories, he had touched many hearts, and that was the greatest accomplishment of all. Even as time passed, his work continued to live on. His films could be watched by new generations. His advice and teachings could be read, remembered, and practiced by those who wished to follow his example. His curiosity, courage, and heart had created ripples far beyond his own life. In the end, Tom felt peace. He knew that life was not only about achievements, money, or fame. It was about questions, learning, connection, and the courage to try.